Welcome to Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, the home for financial advice in a language you can understand. Created by Marc Freedman of Freedman Financial, he and his team of certified financial planner professionals will discuss timely topics that help individuals and families make smart financial decisions. And now, get ready for this week's edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial.
Welcome back to another edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. My name is Marc Freedman.
And I'm Marion Gilman.
And we're here to provide you with some financial advice in a language you can understand. Well, here we are approaching the fall season. Kids are back in school.
Unbelievable.
It's always unbelievable. When I always mention, we're approaching winter. Unbelievable how we got here. Where did those years go?
It's amazing because it does happen every year, but it's still
it
unbelievable.
Does. September comes every year.
And that's me. What can I tell you?
As does Christmas,
Time
as
flies.
does the holidays. They all do.
There you go.
Yeah, but we've been spending a lot of time over the past several podcasts trying to answer this question that starts, or the prompt, what if you could? And it all started with this idea that LPL Financial, our broker-dealer, rolled out, and perhaps you've seen some of these television commercials, some ads, maybe billboards, online radios, pieces, whatever, where they hired Anna Kendrick. If you remember Anna Kendrick from Pitch Perfect, perhaps. She is the star, I guess, of the ads, and she asks the questions, what if you could ... as it relates to retirement, as it relates to financial planning, as it relates to investing. You can fill in a number of ways to do that. And so we have been building our podcasts lately, trying to bring in some perspectives from real life things that happen in our office.
Absolutely.
About what if you could.
And I understand at some point in the not too distant future, we might have a special guest on the podcast.
We will.
Is that correct?
Yes. So
okay. We don't want to say who it is, or do we?
I don't know. Well,
okay.
Well, let's put it this way. So last week I was in Hawaii at one of LPL's conferences in Kauai, Hawaii, and I brought my podcasting equipment. So different kind of a backdrop than what you see here. It's the backdrop of more of the flora background that you'd see in Hawaii. And I was walking around asking myself the question, what if you could interview the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, one of which is LPL Financial.
And he just happened to be there?
He happened to be there.
Wow.
And I've known Rich Steinmeier since he's been hired there, 7 years almost, with LPL, and he was gracious enough to grant me an interview, and we will share that in the near future. We're just trying to work out some of the details. We want to get some
but stay tuned.
Graphics around it. So
stay tuned.
It'll be interesting.
Great. Yeah.
Because you think about it. I learned something very interesting from Rich during our conversation. Oftentimes we hear about the S&P 500 and the Fortune 500. So I'll ask you, Marion. I know we did not prepare for this question. Do you know the difference between the two?
I don't. No, I can't say that I do. I know the Fortune 500 are the 500 largest companies by a certain. I don't know what the measurements are, though.
Yeah.
I think the measurements for the S&P 500 are by market value, whereas how do the S&P? Is that correct? Though?
No.
Is that the difference?
So I learned something very interesting,
Okay.
and it was validated by a few people when I was out in Hawaii. I never understood the difference, that even if there was a difference between Fortune 500 and S&P 500. Well, here is what I learned. To be in the Fortune 500, you are listed in the 500 largest companies purely by revenue.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you can be a Fortune 500 company and not be a publicly traded company. Think Fidelity. Fidelity is a non-publicly traded company. You can't buy stock in Fidelity unless, of course, you're a employee there.
Right?
But from a perspective of revenue, Fidelity brings in an enormous amount of revenue, is clearly in the Fortune 500. So I was asking one of the other people at LPL, where does LPL stand at the Fortune 500 level? I know they're part of the Fortune 500, but where would they fit? And I was surprised to learn that they're in the mid to late 200s. Which is a pretty significant number.
That's great. Wow.
Based upon revenue. Now, this is what was told to me. I am not confirming that. I have not validated it. Nothing like that. That's what was told to me. But LPL is not in the S&P 500.
Because by market value, they wouldn't qualify.
So yeah, some might think, though, Marion, like you said, S&P 500 is measured by the 500 largest companies by market cap. And that is a participant in that decision, but it's basically not strictly that.
Huh.
It is basically, as someone said, the all-stars of all of the various sectors, depending upon what might be popular right now. I mean, there are your tried and true companies that have always been part of the S&P 500. But certain companies make it into the S&P 500 right now because they're part of the all-star team. They happen to be really popular stocks right now. And some will fall off. And periodically that index gets adjusted.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
You know, it was interesting to me. So, you know, what if I could get a better understanding of what I thought I already knew? And that's why we go to these conferences, because we get so stuck in hearing about stuff in our industry, in whatever industry you're in school, education, politics, whatever it is. And you hear it, and we don't necessarily validate it. We try to justify it ourselves and saying, I understand it. But that's what we love about going to these conferences for.
And we also get fresh ideas from other people in the industry who might be interacting with their clients in a different way that we do, or they're using different software or some types of programs or whatever it might be, and they have some kind of different approach that we can learn from.
Right.
I mean, you know, you're testing out a new product right now.
I am. We have the opportunity to test out an AI voice recorder administrator assistant, if you will.
Right.
So imagine if you and I were sitting in a meeting, and of course with your approval, instead of me sitting there taking notes or bringing in an employee to sit and take notes, a recorder sits at the table or through Zoom or however we might meet, and it listens and records our conversation. And from that, it turns that recording into an actionable set of notes from what we discussed. Not only does it encapsulate everything we talked about in a very readable and concise form, but it creates an email back to you, the client, that says, here's what we talked about today, here's what you agreed to do, here's what we agreed to do. And it's created in a format as well.
And it also assigns tasks,
right,
doesn't it?
And then it assigns, if the things that I needed to do, or whoever in the office needs to do it, it assigns tasks, puts it into our contact management system, and says, you got to do this, and here's the deadline when it needs to get done.
Yeah. And, you know, it's really fantastic because when we're engaged with a client, sometimes you forget to write something down because you're in a discussion with a client. So it's just us. I mean, typically we meet one-on-one with a client, so we're trying to take notes and absorb what the client is saying. So to have this assistant is great, and it also is a huge time saver from us actually typing out the notes, assigning the task, and creating a follow-up email.
Yeah, what I found interesting, and I've been using it I've been testing it out the past few days, and our review meetings with clients might run an hour.
Yeah.
But when it comes to talking about your investment account, maybe that's 5 minutes of the conversation. A lot of it is social, just general dialogue. And what amazes me about this AI assistant is that it negates all that stuff. It ignores all the nonsense or the kind of the social stuff that we banter back and forth with.
Right.
But if it picks up something that says, I'm hoping someday I could travel to Sweden, or I really would love to give my kids some extra money. Those little points that were offered up that I probably never wrote down,
right,
it's capturing it.
Right.
And it brings it back into the conversation so that we can analyze it again, think about it,
right,
discuss it with our clients, build it into our plan, saying, is this really what you want to do? It's really remarkable. We're still learning how to use it.
Right.
But
AI can be really fantastic. I mean, to use some kind of AI program that they can assist in doing some of that tedious work that, I don't know about you, but I'm not real fond of writing up those meeting notes.
No, I mean, I cannot type that fast.
Exactly, as my mind goes.
Yeah.
It's,
but it's also intimidating. to see how
Yes.
powerful
Exactly.
AI is.
That's true.
And
you have to be careful, I think, on that too.
yeah,
right?
and we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I mean, what will
But
come
it's
from
great.
this? You know, people were threatened by the entry of computers back in the 80s.
Well, do you remember? I mean, there's some famous quote by Bill Gates who said that there will never be a reason to have any more than one desktop computer in any home. Is that? I think
it's
that's
something like that.
Something along those lines.
I mean, think about the number of different types of technology that we leverage today.
And how many computers are in your house?
Right, computers, phones.
iPads,
isn't a phone a
phones.
computer?
Absolutely,
You know.
yeah.
But I also remember back in the 80s, people saying, well, with this advent of computers coming in, think of all the jobs that are going to be lost. Computers are going to make us so efficient, we won't need anything else. And gosh, what has the technology industry created in the forms of jobs, growth, potential,
Exactly.
our ability to process things, both good and bad, don't get me wrong.
Right.
And so with this entry point of artificial intelligence, I think we're at that same crossroads again.
Well, I've seen some statistics where, for financial advisors, that AI can actually save them somewhere between, 30 to 40% of their time spent on a weekly basis.
Yeah, think about how it could help pre-populate paperwork
Right.
rather than handwriting all that stuff,
Yes.
especially when you have to open up multiple accounts.
Yep.
Imagine being able to gather all that information. Of course, you need a good set of eyes to make sure that it's right. But back to this point about what if you could, and we go all over the place,
Exactly.
on this thing. You had an interesting interaction with my son, Jerry, who was up visiting this past week.
So Mark's son is a very thoughtful guy, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So he's actually a very thoughtful kid. And he was visiting from Florida this week for a spectacular birthday present for his mother, right?
We had a surprise party for Laura.
Absolutely. So I was chatting with Jerry, and Jerry came up with this question that he was asking everybody that evening. And his question was, what is it that makes you feel life? Not feel alive, but make you feel life. And, that's a very interesting question. And we actually ask that question of many of our clients in a different way.
We often use the thing of what if you could, and
that's right.
How would we finish that sentence?
And that, what if you could create more moments in your life, or use your answer to what is life for you, what makes you feel life, and what if you could create more moments that made you feel like that? So, I mean, that's what we're looking at. When you're thinking about retiring, or improving your life in any way, shape, or form, you want to create more moments that make you happy, that make you really thrilled with what's going on. Whether it be spending time with family, spending time at the beach, spending time out in nature. It could be anything. But think about that. It's really a very interesting question.
And I think it kind of expands beyond the typical thing of, well, when you retire, what do you want to do?
Exactly.
That's the do part. I want to travel. Right. I want to, I want to travel. It's generally the big answer.
Right.
But now, what is it that when you do it is going to make you feel alive?
Exactly.
And perhaps it's the tours you want to go on, the experiences that you want to have, those moments when I want to hold my grandchild. That's going to make me feel alive. Whatever those are. And that is what we want to try to pull out of the conversations that we have with you, to make sure that not only can you make those experiences happen, but you can have the confidence that you can do it on your terms.
Absolutely. It makes you feel, awe. I mean, just awe in nature, whatever it might be. Like, my God, you step back, take a breath. This is perfect.
And I think we oftentimes reflect on that, sadly, when we're coming to the end of our life.
Exactly.
And we reflect on, geez, what will I regret that I never did?
That's right.
Or never put into my life, never made me feel fulfilled. And why wait for that time?
And who better than Jerry, who's 25, to actually think about this at his age? So I think that was fabulous.
It was really interesting, and he asked a lot of people at the party.
Yeah.
And we got all sorts of answers. And it was not a do, what do I want to do question. It's
Nope.
how would I want to feel about that experience?
And I think everybody answered that, and I shouldn't speak for everybody, but most people answered that with something, how they felt when they were doing something or in a place with someone or just, in a place with nature.
I thought it was interesting. Many people said, and perhaps you're thinking about this as you're listening to this podcast, it reflected on the me time. Like my daughter said, I feel happy when I'm doing Pilates. I have my phone with me, no one's bugging me, I'm just focused on me.
Right.
Mindy's boyfriend, Sam, happened to mention he feels great when he goes for a run because it's his time. Right. It's away from everything else. So what are those moments that make you feel alive, that it's about you and you're thinking only about you? I think those are really interesting questions. And,
they really are.
And we want to help people try to get there.
Absolutely.
That's going to do it.
What
Yeah.
if you
So
could,
what,
right?
what if you could? Yeah. And so
There you go.
if now's the time for you to get serious about your financial planning or investment management needs, we hope you'll give us a call. Find out what's new about Freedman Financial. What is it that we do to help you answer those questions, what if you could, and help you accomplish those goals and dreams with the resources that you have, with the goals and the dreams that you have. Make it all come together. Give our office a call, 978-531-8108. That's 978-531-8108. Or visit us online, freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. Go to the bottom of any page, put in your name, your email address, and you'll get our free weekly newsletter that lands in your inbox every Friday morning at 10:30 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. That's going to do it for us this week. We will be back again with more financial advice in a language you can understand. You've been watching Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. Have a great day, everyone.
Enjoy.
During today's episode of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, your host may have discussed specific financial planning and investment ideas that are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Please remember that investing involves risk and may include loss of principal. Always consult a certified financial planner professional, qualified attorney, or tax advisor prior to investing to determine what is appropriate for you. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.